Hello, this is Mama and here's my little bee.
Hi! Today's our first session on Fun and Learn. We will have a lot of fun with cooking and science.
What is science?
Science is learning about everything: space, planets, animals, plants, machines, whatever scientists do.
What do scientists do?
They experiment and they observe.
Very good. Cooking is also a science and we'll be doing our experiments in the kitchen. What are the rules in the kitchen?
Please keep your hands neat and clean. Wear your chef hat and your aprons. Sleeves up and have fun.
And always have a grown-up nearby. Today we will learn about colors. The color which we will talk more about will be purple. Here is a red cabbage. We also call this a purple cabbage. What makes this cabbage purple? What gives any vegetable its color? So there are something called pigments present in vegetables and fruits. These pigments give them the color. Some pigments give green, some give orange, yellow, red, purple, white, and so on. Almost every living being, including us human beings, have several pigments. These pigments are naturally occurring chemicals that are responsible for several functions and play many other roles, including giving the colors. They are also responsible for giving us the nutrients and energy when we eat these vegetables and fruits. Like how each of us are special and unique in our own way, these fruits and vegetables are also special in their own ways. So it's always good to eat our fruits and vegetables to grow stronger. There are so many pigments present in each vegetable, not just one or two. There are a number of pigments present in each vegetable and fruit. So we won't be going much detailed into each of them, but quickly go through a couple of names which you might come across. Green vegetables such as palak, spinach, they contain chlorophyll, which you would have already come across in your science classes. Yellows and oranges usually come from carotene. Red of tomatoes, watermelon, these come from lycopenes. And beetroot red is different. It comes from something called betalain. And the color today that we are going to see, the purple, or some shades of red, blue, and even black, they come from something called as anthocyanins. We'll include more details on these pigments in the description box, which you can refer later. For now, let's make a note of this pigment named anthocyanin, with which we will be doing an experiment at the end of this video. Now let's see how to make a magic sauce. Back to the red cabbage. So today we'll see how to wash and chop the red cabbage and prepare what we call as magic sauce. As you can see, there are marks on this red cabbage. Cabbages are prone to a lot of insects as well as any damages, especially on the outer leaves. This is more likely to happen when there are, when they are organic products. But inside it will be very clean. Okay, all these outer layers, they protect the inner layers. That's why we'll remove the outer layers and use only the inner layers. Okay, so I'm going to wash this in water, wash and soak. So after giving a quick rinse in flowing water, that is under tap water, I'm going to soak this in salt water for 20 minutes. Okay, here I have taken a liter of water and I'm just going to add around 2 tablespoons of salt. Soaking in salt water or vinegar solution helps remove all the dust particles and any impurities present in all the vegetables. We don't have to use soap at all. We will soak it for 20 minutes before use. Now let's start cutting it. So this portion that you see, the yellow color portion, this is the stem of the cabbage. Okay, so this is completely edible, but since we brought it from the shop where they have already cut it, it has started turning yellow, and this portion is nearer to the roots, so there is a lot of chances of any mud particles and other impurities to be present. So we will cut it out. Once we cut it, the outer layers can be easily removed. We won't be discarding the outer layers. We'll use it for the experiment that we'll be doing at the end of this video. Now we can see that the inner portion of the cabbage is really good. I'm keeping these discards separately. I wanted to show something. I've got this half-cut cabbage from the shop. Usually cabbages being very big, we tend to cut into half and store it, right? So when we keep it for a longer duration, it starts to turn yellowish or brownish in color. Okay, we cannot eat that portion, so we have to cut it and discard it away. Now you can see a fresh inner layer. The color change from white to yellow or brown happens when they come in contact with air. There is a process called oxidation that happens, and this color change into yellow or browning, it's called enzymatic browning. You can see this even in apples, potatoes, brinjals. Now coming back to the color purple, you can see that there is a little bit of purple on the knife, right? So the red cabbage has oozed out this color, and this is because of the pigment called anthocyanin, which is soluble in water, and this comes in handy for today's experiment. Before chopping the cabbage, I'll just remove the first few layers to make an interesting cabbage roll where we can stuff any vegetables or any stuffing, and we'll just simply roll it and we'll either bake it or cook it in sauce. Now let me show you how to cut the cabbage. So we can either cut it at the top into 4 halves, or we can chop it in the midway, this way. You can see the 2 sections of the cabbage, right? So now how to hold the knife and how to cut it. Usually for grown-ups, it's said that, do a claw hold and use the knuckles to guide you to cut it. But any kind of hold will be fine. This is a pincer grip, so you can do a pincer grip or a claw hold. Okay, but for what happens is when kids do a claw hold, chances are there that the knuckle will be flatter, okay, when we hold it. So there is chance of the knife being very close to the finger, which is risky. Let us not do it. However you are comfortable with, use that hold. Hold the cabbage very tight and hold the knife also very tight. There are different ways of holding the knife. For now, use the handle to grip very well and chop. Make sure that your fingers are away from the knife. Always have a grown-up nearby to supervise. So here is a strand of cabbage. This kind of cut we use for salads. We can further chop this into smaller pieces, but for today's recipe it's going to be a puree, so we can even do bigger chunks and steam it or pressure cook it. So this is another way of cutting for another recipe. We can make a basic cabbage pizza. Okay, so using this as the base, this section as the base, what we do is we'll just spread some sauce and cheese. The cheese will act as a binding layer, and then on top of it we can add different toppings, capsicums, olives, paneer, any kind of toppings, add herbs, and we can bake it. I'm going to chop this portion into even smaller pieces and to show you. So this is how we'll usually chop for sabzis and stuffed parathas and even cabbage rice. want to show you this. This is the core of the cabbage. Again, this is completely edible, but people tend to chop it off. But it does get cooked, especially when we pressure cook. But if you are looking for any presentation or aesthetic cooking, we can remove it and use it for any other dishes. Now I am going to pressure cook this. I'm just using this cooker plate underneath, and I'm adding some water. The plate should be covered with water. We can either pressure cook it or steam it. In the meantime, we'll prepare the other ingredients. I've taken pepper, cloves, ginger, hing, and some salt. You can also add onions, garlic, and a lot of other optional ingredients, but here I have just kept it to the bare minimum to give an idea. Here is the cooked cabbage. I'm just going to add it with all the other ingredients and give a quick blend. Let it cool down before blending. Please take help from a grown-up to use blender or a mixer. So I've blended it here, and you can see a violet color in the mixer, right? So let's see what happens. Let's do a magic. Okay, the magic ingredient, the secret ingredient here is going to be, any guesses? Yes, lemon. That brings us to another important aspect in cooking, the acid-base reaction. Let's see what happens when we add lemon juice to this mixture. I'm adding few drops. You can see an immediate color change, right? So it's a beautiful pink. Let me adjust the camera to show you a bit closer. Now it's clearer. So what has happened is the purple color has become pinkish in shade. The pigment anthocyanin is responsible for this color change. We can add more lemon juice and make this completely pink as well. Let's try to understand what's happening. There are three types of foods: acidic, alkaline, and then there is something called neutral, which is neither acidic nor alkaline. So what is acid? Acids are, those materials which taste a wee bit sour. We don't go about tasting everything. We will taste a wee bit of lemon juice. You can taste the sourness, right? That is because of a component called citric acid that is present in lemon. There are some food items that are classified as alkaline substances. Alkaline is also denoted by the term basic. For example, baking soda is an alkaline substance. Both acids and alkaline foods are categorized based on how they taste and few of their chemical properties. There is something called pH that indicates whether or not a food is alkaline or acidic. pH means power of hydrogen, and we have pH meter to find out whether something is acidic, neutral or basic. Neutral means it has a pH of around 7. For example, water has a neutral pH. Similarly, this anthocyanin pigment also has a neutral pH. We will be learning more about this pH when we grow up. For now, what we have to understand is acids are those substances which have a pH of less than 7, and alkaline substances will have a pH greater than 7. When we add an acid to a neutral substance, this neutral substance will also show properties of acidic substances. For example, when we add a lemon juice to a water to make lemonade, this solution will be acidic in nature. It has a pH less than 7. That's what exactly has happened here. Here, the anthocyanin being neutral, red cabbage being neutral, once an acidic substance has been added, it has become acidic in nature, and that is shown by the color change. The anthocyanin pigment that is present in red cabbage is water soluble. How we saw that our knife was turning purpley shade, right? So this particular pigment in red cabbage is easily dissolvable in water. So we can also make magical juices, lemonade also with this red cabbage juice. Would you like to try at home and let us know? Now it's time for another experiment. So with this color change property of our red cabbage juice, we can make our own homemade pH meter. The required materials would be vinegar or lemon juice, baking soda and some red cabbage juice. Here we have taken juice from uncooked cabbage as well as cooked version. We have taken two separate juices just for clearly seeing what is happening. Now we are going to add vinegar to two of these jars. Okay, so you can see the color change and it will be more clear here. Okay, so you can see the immediate color change, right? So now we are going to add some baking soda to the other two glasses. You can see the color change, how it changes. So when acid is added, it's becoming pink or reddish, and when base is added, it becomes blue or greenish. Now we are adding both the acid component and the base component. Let's see how it reacts.
Let me explain it to you how the bubbling reaction is given. So when we mix acid and base together, it gives a bubbling reaction from the gas called carbon dioxide.
Yes, very good. We keep hearing about acid-base reactions. When we mix an acidic substance and a basic substance, a reaction occurs. For example, when we mix a lemon juice with a baking soda, a gas is produced. Here it is carbon dioxide. And this carbon dioxide tries to escape to the surface, resulting in the bubbles. This acid-base reaction plays an important role in cooking, especially baking. This carbon dioxide is responsible for fluffy, spongy cakes also. During today's experiment, when we mix both the acid and the base components, you can see that the color is changed back to a purplish shade, indicating that the pH is probably somewhere near neutral. The pigment present, the anthocyanin, it actually acts as a pH indicator. Okay, so when we add an acid or a base to a normal water, we cannot see what is happening, because water doesn't have any color. So there won't be any physical reaction. Of course, when we add baking soda to water, we can see that it becomes a whitish liquid. But it could be anything. So what this anthocyanin pigment does, it acts as a natural pH indicator. Okay, so by color change, we can identify whether or not it is becoming an acid or a base. We tried the same experiment with more acids and bases. What we have done is we have added different types of acids that we know of, and we have also added some tap water and distilled water. Okay, and for base we have taken different types of soaps and baking soda also. So based on that, based on the color change, we can segregate which are all the acidic substances and which are all the basic substances. We found a lot of interesting things here. For example, we had to interchange the distilled water and tap water because clearly the tap water had a slightly bluer tinge than the distilled water. The one in which we had added soap, this one was a very different hand wash soap. It took a lot of time for it to dissolve in the water, and once it started dissolving, it started giving out a bluish tinge. The captions has all the details. Similar experiments can be done at home with turmeric and even beetroot juice. What happens when we add, say, vinegar to turmeric and a baking soda to turmeric, and what happens when you add same ingredients to a beetroot juice? These can be recorded. Very interesting results will be found. Once you do these experiments at home, please feel free to let us know. We will also upload videos and pictures after you try it out. That brings us to the end of today's session. If you have any questions, please feel free to email or message us. Hope you had fun. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.